The morning sun cast long shadows across Camp Pendleton as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos approached the main gate with measured steps. Her standard duty uniform was pressed to regulation standards. Her black briefcase held professionally at her side, and her bearing spoke of quiet competence. Behind her walked 6 Force Recon Marines in full combat gear, their tactical vests loaded with equipment, weapons slung across their shoulders with practiced ease. To any casual observer, the scene was clear. Another administrative aide escorting elite operators to their briefing. Maria's footsteps echoed against the concrete as they moved through the compound. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, her uniform bearing only standard ribbons that revealed nothing of consequence. The Marines behind her carried themselves with the swagger of men who had earned their place through blood and determination. Their conversations flowed around her, like she was invisible, discussions of upcoming operations and past missions conducted as if she simply didn't exist in their world. The base personnel they passed offered respectful nods to the Force Recon team while barely acknowledging Maria's presence. A young corporal held the door for the Marines while letting it swing closed behind them, forcing her to catch it herself. 2 staff sergeants engaged in animated conversation with the team leader about tactical innovations, their eyes sliding past her as if she were part of the furniture rather than part of the group. Inside the administrative building, the dynamic became even more pronounced. Marines clustered around the Force Recon operators, eager to hear stories from the field, to bask in reflected glory from men who operated in the shadows. Maria took her position near the wall, briefcase at her feet, hands clasped behind her back in a posture that screamed support personnel. Her presence was acknowledged only when someone needed to know where to direct the team for their next appointment. A master sergeant approached the group with obvious enthusiasm, his attention focused entirely on the operators. "These guys just got back from that classified operation in Southeast Asia," he told a gathering crowd. "Can't say much about it, but word is they pulled off something unprecedented." The Marines around him leaned in closer, hungry for any details they could gather. Maria remained motionless against the wall, her expression neutral as conversations swirled around her without inclusion. The briefing room filled with personnel eager to observe the debriefing of elite operators fresh from a successful mission. Maria followed the team inside, taking a seat in the back corner where administrative staff typically position themselves. Her briefcase rested beside her chair while she produced a small notebook, maintaining the perfect image of someone there to take notes and file reports rather than participate in operational discussions. As the preliminary briefing began, Maria observed the room dynamics with trained eyes. Officers questioned the Force Recon Marines about tactical decisions, equipment performance, and mission outcomes. The operators responded with professional precision, their answers revealing expertise earned through dangerous experience. Meanwhile, she sat quietly in her corner, occasionally writing in her notebook, playing her role perfectly while absorbing every detail of the conversation around her. The briefing concluded with handshakes and congratulations for the successful mission. Marines filed out, discussing the impressive capabilities they had just witnessed, their respect for the Force Recon team evident in their voices. Maria gathered her materials and followed, once again invisible to most of the personnel who had been fascinated by the operator's presence. Her footsteps echoed softly as she maintained proper distance behind the team. Outside the briefing room, word began to spread through the compound that important visitors were arriving. A convoy of black vehicles had been spotted approaching the main gate, and personnel scrambled to ensure everything met inspection standards. Maria watched the sudden burst of activity with professional interest while maintaining her position near the Force Recon team, still appearing to be nothing more than their administrative shadow. The call to formation crackled over the base communication system, sending Marines hustling to their assigned positions. Within minutes, perfectly aligned ranks filled the parade ground, dress uniforms gleaming in the morning light. Maria found herself positioned at the edge of the formation, briefcase still in hand, maintaining the appearance of support staff who happened to be present during the ceremony, rather than someone with any official role in the proceedings. The rumble of approaching helicopters filled the air as 3 Marine Corps aircraft appeared on the horizon. Their distinctive silhouettes grew larger as they approached the landing zone adjacent to the parade ground. Personnel stood at rigid attention while rotor wash kicked up clouds of dust that drifted across the formation. The helicopters touched down with military precision, their engines winding down as ground crews rushed forward to secure the aircraft. From the lead helicopter emerged a figure whose presence commanded immediate attention throughout the compound. General Patricia Hawkins stepped onto the tarmac with the bearing of someone accustomed to absolute authority. Her dress uniform displayed rows of ribbons that told stories of 3 decades in service, multiple combat deployments, and leadership positions that had shaped Marine Corps policy. Her gray hair was perfectly styled beneath her cover, and her eyes swept the formation with the assessment of a warrior who had earned her position through competence and courage. The general moved across the parade ground with purpose, her aides struggling to match her pace while balancing briefing materials and communication equipment. Behind her walked a small entourage of senior staff officers, their own impressive credentials seeming diminished by her commanding presence. The Marines in formation stood even straighter as she approached, their respect for her rank and reputation evident in their absolute stillness. General Hawkins began her inspection with the systematic thoroughness that had made her legendary throughout the Corps. She paused before individual Marines, asking questions about their training, their unit assignments, and their career goals. Her interactions revealed genuine interest in the welfare of her personnel, combined with the sharp assessment skills that had elevated her to the highest levels of military leadership. As the general's inspection continued down the formation, Maria remained motionless at the edge of the parade ground. Her briefcase sat beside her polished boots, while she maintained perfect military bearing despite her apparent insignificance to the proceedings. The Force Recon Marines she had accompanied were positioned in the formation center, their specialized status earning them prominent placement during the ceremony. The moment that would transform the entire dynamic began when General Hawkins completed her inspection of the main formation and turned her attention toward the support personnel positioned along the edges. Her experienced eyes swept across the gathered staff, identifying roles and responsibilities with the practiced efficiency of someone who understood military structure at every level. When the general's gaze fell upon Maria, something shifted in her expression that was visible to anyone watching closely. Recognition sparked in her eyes, followed immediately by what appeared to be surprise at finding this particular person in this specific location. The general's pace slowed as she approached, her attention focusing with laser intensity on the woman everyone else had dismissed as insignificant. Maria straightened imperceptibly as the general drew near, though her posture had already been regulation perfect. The briefcase at her side seemed to become heavier as attention she had been avoiding suddenly became unavoidable. Around the parade ground, Marines began to notice the general's focused approach towards someone they had barely acknowledged. General Hawkins came to a halt directly in front of Maria, her expression unreadable but intense. The silence stretched across the parade ground as hundreds of Marines watched an interaction they couldn't understand. The general's aide looked confused, checking his notes as if searching for information about why his superior had stopped before an apparent administrative assistant. Without warning, General Hawkins raised her right hand in a sharp, crisp salute that cut through the morning air like a blade. Her movement was formal, respectful, and held with the kind of gravity reserved for acknowledging someone of exceptional merit. The salute lingered in perfect form while the entire compound processed what they were witnessing. The effect was instantaneous and electric. Marines throughout the formation exchanged bewildered glances while maintaining their positions. Officers in the reviewing party stared in confusion at the scene unfolding before them. The Force Recon team that had accompanied Maria looked stunned, their earlier dismissiveness replaced by dawning realization that they had completely misunderstood who had been walking with them. Maria returned the salute with equal precision, her movement revealing training and bearing that suddenly seemed inconsistent with her apparent role. When both women lowered their hands, the general's voice carried clearly across the silent parade ground. "Colonel Santos, it's an honor to have you here. Your recent work in the Pacific Theater has been exemplary." The words hit the assembled Marines like artillery shells. Colonel Santos, the woman they had ignored, dismissed, and treated as invisible administrative support, was a full colonel whose rank exceeded that of most officers present. Whispers began to ripple through the formation as personnel struggled to reconcile this revelation with their previous assumptions. General Hawkins continued speaking, her voice projecting with the authority that commanded attention throughout the compound. "The intelligence operation you led in the South China Sea prevented what could have been a significant international incident. The Joint Chiefs specifically requested that I convey their appreciation for your exceptional service." Maria, now clearly revealed as Colonel Santos, maintained her professional composure despite the shock waves radiating through the assembled personnel. "Thank you, General. The mission required precise coordination, but we achieved our objectives without compromise to operational security or personnel safety." The conversation between the two senior officers continued while Marines struggled to process the complete reversal of their understanding. The quiet woman who had seemed like a forgotten aide was discussing classified operations with the commandant, speaking as an equal about matters of national security that exceeded the clearance level of most personnel present. Around the parade ground, the Force Recon Marines who had accompanied Colonel Santos looked particularly stunned. They recalled their casual dismissal of her presence, their conversations conducted as if she weren't there, their assumption that she was merely administrative support tagging along with real operators. The realization that they had been escorted by a senior officer conducting her own classified mission hit them with embarrassing force. General Hawkins gestured toward the administrative building where more private discussions could take place. "Colonel Santos, I believe we have several matters to discuss regarding your next assignment. The Pacific Command has specifically requested your expertise for an upcoming operation that requires your particular skills and experience." As the two senior officers moved away from the formation, followed by the general staff who now regarded Colonel Santos with obvious respect, the Marines began to process what they had witnessed. Conversations buzzed with amazement, speculation, and not a small amount of embarrassment among those who had dismissed her presence entirely. The Force Recon team found themselves surrounded by curious personnel asking questions they couldn't answer. Who was she really? What had she been doing with their team? How had they failed to recognize a senior officer in their midst? The operators, trained to notice details that others missed, realized they had been completely fooled by assumptions and expectations. Inside the administrative building, General Hawkins and Colonel Santos settled into a secure conference room where their conversation could continue without the scrutiny of curious personnel. The general's expression combined respect, admiration, and a hint of amusement at the scene they had just created on the parade ground. "Colonel Santos," the general began, "your cover as administrative support was flawless. Even my staff didn't realize who you were until I briefed them during the flight here. Your ability to blend into support roles while conducting high-level intelligence gathering continues to exceed expectations." Maria allowed herself a small smile as she opened her briefcase, revealing sophisticated communication equipment and classified documents rather than the routine paperwork everyone had assumed she carried. "The Force Recon team provided excellent cover for my presence here, General. Their mission gave me the perfect opportunity to assess base security protocols and personnel awareness without raising suspicions." The irony of the situation wasn't lost on either officer. While the Marines had focused on the obvious presence of elite operators, they had completely missed the classified operative moving among them. The lesson about assumptions, awareness, and the danger of dismissing the unexpected would resonate throughout the base for months to come. Back on the parade ground, The formation began to dismiss as word spread about what had transpired. Marines who had barely noticed Colonel Santos earlier now spoke of her with respect and amazement. The story would be retold countless times, growing with each telling, but the core truth remained unchanged. They had failed to recognize exceptional service when it walked quietly among them. The Force Recon team gathered their gear in subdued silence, each member processing their failure to identify the senior officer who had accompanied them. Their reputation for observation and assessment had taken a significant hit, but the lesson learned would make them better operators in the future. As the day continued, Colonel Santos met with base commanders to discuss security improvements and personnel training. Her observations during her time as a parent support staff provided valuable insights into areas where awareness and protocols could be enhanced. The exercise had served its purpose beyond the specific intelligence mission she had been conducting. Evening brought a change in the base atmosphere as personnel processed the day's revelations. In the mess hall, conversations focused on the importance of treating everyone with respect regardless of apparent rank or role. The lesson that exceptional people often move in unexpected ways had been learned through direct experience rather than instruction. Colonel Santos prepared for her departure the following morning, her mission completed successfully on multiple levels. She had gathered the intelligence required for her primary assignment while simultaneously testing base security and personnel awareness. The results would inform future training and operational procedures. The Force Recon Marines who had unknowingly provided her cover gathered to offer their respect before her departure. Their embarrassment had evolved into professional admiration for someone who had operated so effectively within their midst. The experience would make them more observant and less assumptive in future operations. General Hawkins personally saw Colonel Santos off, their conversation covering both the successful completion of her current mission and planning for future assignments. The Pacific Theater continued to require operatives with her unique skills and ability to operate beneath the surface of obvious military activity. As Colonel Santos departed Camp Pendleton, she left behind a base full of Marines who would never again make assumptions about someone's importance based solely on their apparent role. The lesson that exceptional service often moved quietly and without fanfare had been learned through powerful demonstration rather than mere instruction. They thought I was just the Marine's aide until the general saluted me first. When I first walked onto the military compound, no one paid me any attention. I was dressed in standard duty uniform, carrying a briefcase under my arm, trailing just behind a team of Force Recon Marines. To most, I looked like what they assumed I was, an aide, an assistant, someone to fetch papers or carry coffee. And honestly, I let them think that. Sometimes being underestimated is the sharpest weapon you can carry. The whispers started quickly. "Who's she?" one officer muttered as I passed. Another smirked. "Probably just here to push paperwork for the team." They didn't know. What almost no one knew was that I wasn't there to take notes or shuffle files. I had been embedded with the Force Recon Marines for months, operating under deep cover, leading missions that never made the headlines. Missions so classified that only a handful of people even knew my real role. That day, the general was making his rounds, inspecting the units, reviewing readiness. The Marines snapped to attention the second he appeared. Their posture sharp, their faces unreadable. I stood in the formation quietly, hand behind my back. Still, I felt the eyes on me. Officers waiting for someone to tell me to step aside. Surely an aide didn't belong in a lineup with warriors who had earned their place through blood, sweat, and determination. The general stopped in front of us, scanning the line of men. Then his eyes landed on me. He paused. For a moment, the air grew tense, like even the wind was holding its breath. Slowly, he stepped forward. The Marines, confused, cut their eyes toward me. And then it happened. He raised his hand, sharp and deliberate, and saluted. The silence that followed was thunderous. The same men who assumed I was just the aide looked at me with shock written across their faces. Because in the Marine Corps, a general doesn't salute lightly. He salutes to honor, not rank, not appearances, but respect. What they didn't realize was that months before, during a mission that went south in hostile territory, I had led a covert team that extracted intelligence, so vital it reshaped entire strategies in the region. The general had read the classified reports. He knew what I had done, and in that salute, he wasn't acknowledging my uniform. He was acknowledging my legacy. I didn't say a word. I returned the salute crisp and steady. And in that moment, the whispers stopped. The smirks faded. The men who thought I was just background realized the truth. I wasn't there to serve the Marines. I was one of them. Captain Sarah Martinez stepped through the main gate of Camp Pendleton with measured precision, her standard duty uniform pressed to regulation standards. The morning inspection ceremony was already underway, with perfectly aligned force recon teams standing at attention across the main courtyard. General Richardson spotted her immediately from the reviewing platform, his weathered face hardening as he noted her casual appearance among the military precision surrounding them. "What is that woman doing here during a formal inspection?" he muttered to his aide, loud enough for nearby personnel to hear. Sarah walked calmly toward the tactical operations building, her trained eyes automatically cataloging the two Black Hawk helicopters positioned on the adjacent flight line. She recognized the specific tail numbers and noted their external fuel tank configurations, details that would prove significant very soon. General Richardson descended from the platform with purposeful strides, intercepting her path near the flagpole where the entire base could witness the confrontation. "Ma'am, you need to leave this area immediately. This is a restricted military ceremony, and civilians are not permitted during active operations." Sarah maintained her composure as General Richardson's voice carried across the courtyard, drawing curious stares from the assembled Marine teams. "Sir, I have authorized access to the tactical briefing scheduled at 0900 hours, she replied calmly, producing her contractor identification. The general barely glanced at her credentials before dismissing them with a wave. "I don't care what paperwork you think you have. This is a military installation during active operations. Security, escort this woman to the main gate immediately." Two base security guards approached with practiced efficiency, their hands resting on their duty belts as they flanked Sarah on either side. The humiliation was deliberate and public, designed to demonstrate General Richardson's authority over what he perceived as civilian interference. Sarah allowed herself to be guided toward the exit while her experienced eyes continued their tactical assessment of the base layout. She noted the communications array, positioning, and estimated response times for emergency scrambles. Information that seemed irrelevant to the watching Marines, but would prove critical within hours. "Ma'am, please come with us, and there won't be any trouble," the senior guard said, his tone professional but firm as they approached the gate. General Richardson's voice crackled through the base intercom system, reaching every corner of the facility. "All personnel be advised that unauthorized civilians attempting to access restricted areas during military operations will face immediate prosecution under federal law." His words were clearly directed at Sarah, who stood motionless in the main courtyard as dozens of Force Recon trainees turned to stare. The public announcement served its intended purpose of complete humiliation. Several young Marines began whispering among themselves, questioning how any civilian could be so presumptuous as to interrupt a formal inspection. "Look at her, just standing there like she belongs," one trainee muttered to his buddy. "Probably some contractor thinking she's important because she has a badge." Sarah remained professionally silent while mentally calculating optimal strike vectors from the Black Hawk positions to potential target zones 300 meters southeast. Her knowledge of classified flight patterns and tactical air support protocols went unrecognized by the mocking audience surrounding her. The security guards tightened their formation, preparing to physically remove her from the premises as General Richardson descended the reviewing platform. The emergency klaxon shattered the morning calm with 3 sharp blasts, instantly transforming the ceremonial atmosphere into controlled chaos. Force Recon Team Extraction Mission Compromised. All available aircraft to immediate standby. The announcement echoed across the base as personnel sprinted toward their assigned positions. General Richardson's attention shifted from Sarah to the Tactical Operations Center, where radio chatter revealed 8 Marines pinned down in hostile urban terrain. The designated Black Hawk assigned for close air support had developed critical hydraulic failure during pre-flight checks, leaving the extraction team without their primary tactical advantage. Secondary aircraft are 20 minutes out, sir, reported the operations officer, his voice tense with urgency. Sarah stopped walking toward the gate as the tactical situation unfolded around her. Trained ears picked up specific details from the radio transmissions that revealed the exact nature of the crisis. Enemy forces were closing on the Marine position from multiple vectors, requiring precision strikes in densely populated areas where only Black Hawk capabilities could provide the surgical accuracy needed. The timing couldn't have been worse, with backup air support too distant to prevent a potential catastrophe that demanded immediate tactical intervention. The Tactical Operations Center buzzed with frustrated energy as conventional solutions proved inadequate for the urban extraction scenario. Sir, the AH-1Z Vipers lack the precision guidance systems needed for surgical strikes in civilian areas, the flight operations officer reported to General Richardson. The mission required Black Hawk stealth capabilities and advanced targeting systems that no other available aircraft possessed. Sarah quietly approached the operations center in trance, her contractor badge allowing access to the outer briefing area. She listened to the tactical discussions while noting the displayed target coordinates and enemy positions on the digital screens. The Marine team needed immediate air support to create an escape corridor through a narrow alley system surrounded by civilian structures. Based on the target coordinates, the optimal approach vector would be from bearing 270 degrees using Hellfire missiles with 15-meter accuracy radius, she said calmly to the nearest operations staff member. General Richardson spun around immediately, his face flushed with anger at her continued presence during the classified briefing. Security, remove this woman from my operations center immediately. We don't need civilian interference during a combat emergency that requires actual military expertise and classified tactical knowledge. Radio transmissions from the trapped Marine team painted an increasingly desperate picture as static-filled voices reported multiple wounded and ammunition supplies running critically low. Enemy contact from 3 sides. We need immediate air support or we're not making out of here. The team leader's voice crackled through the speakers with unmistakable urgency. General Richardson watched the tactical display, showing hostile forces converging on the Marine position like a closing fist. Time was running out with backup Black Hawk aircraft still 14 minutes away from target engagement range. The mathematics of the situation were brutally simple. 8 lives hung in the balance, with conventional solutions proving inadequate for the complex urban battlefield. Sarah stepped forward with detailed knowledge that shocked the operations staff. The target building can be neutralized using a single AGM-114 Hellfire with delayed fusing to minimize collateral damage while creating the debris pattern needed for extraction corridor alpha, she explained with precision that demonstrated intimate familiarity with Black Hawk weapon systems. General Richardson's face darkened further as he gestured angrily towards security personnel. I ordered this woman removed from classified areas. We don't have time for civilian interference during actual combat operations requiring real military expertise. Sarah began providing specific authentication codes and call signs that only active Black Hawk pilots would possess, her voice cutting through the operational chaos with startling authority. Falcon 27 requesting immediate tactical coordination with ground element Trident 6 authentication code, Sierra 44 Charlie. She spoke into the communications headset with practiced precision that stunned the operations staff. The backup Black Hawk pilots responded immediately to her radio transmissions, confirming her authentication and requesting tactical guidance for the urban strike mission. Ma'am, we have visual on the target area and are requesting strike authorization from ground control. The lead pilot's voice carried genuine respect through the radio static. General Richardson stood frozen as Sarah demonstrated impossible knowledge of classified flight patterns and weapons deployment procedures that no civilian contractor could possibly know. She guided the incoming aircraft through complex approach vectors while calculating real-time ballistics adjustments for wind speed and building interference patterns. Her technical competence was undeniable as she coordinated precision strikes with field-accurate terminology that revealed extensive combat experience. The Marine team commander monitoring radio traffic suddenly leaned forward in recognition, his expression shifting from confusion to dawning realization as her distinctive communication style triggered memories of previous classified missions. Sarah's technical expertise became impossible to ignore as she coordinated the Black Hawks through intricate urban strike patterns that required split-second timing and surgical precision. Adjust approach angle to bearing 285 degrees delay, fusing 7 seconds for optimal debris dispersal pattern. She directed with authority that silenced all questioning voices in the operations center. The incoming pilots followed her guidance without hesitation, their responses revealing complete trust in her tactical judgment. Copy that, ground control. Adjusting for crosswind compensation and civilian structure proximity. The lead Black Hawk pilot confirmed through crystal-clear radio communication that demonstrated professional respect for her expertise. Marine Team Commander Jake Morrison suddenly straightened at his monitoring station, his weathered face showing unmistakable recognition as memories flooded back from 3 separate classified extraction missions. That communication style, those specific tactical adjustments, the precise ballistics calculations delivered with absolute confidence under pressure. He had heard that exact voice coordinating impossible air support missions that saved his team from certain death in hostile territory years earlier. Morrison interrupted General Richardson mid-sentence with urgent intensity. "Sir, I need to ask this woman to confirm her call sign immediately. This is critically important for operational security and mission success." Commander Morrison's urgent interruption cut through General Richardson's angry protest like a blade through silk. "Ma'am, please confirm your operational call sign for mission verification," he demanded with intensity that made the entire operations center fall silent. Every eye focused on Sarah as she turned from the tactical display with calm professionalism. "Call sign Viper," she replied simply, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to life or death decisions. The effect was immediate and electric as Commander Morrison's face transformed with recognition and something approaching awe. The operations staff exchanged confused glances while General Richardson stood frozen in disbelief. Commander Morrison addressed the room with reverence that commanded absolute attention. "Gentlemen, you are in the presence of Captain Sarah Martinez, call sign Viper, the most decorated Black Hawk pilot in tactical air support operations. She saved my team during Operation Nightfall, Operation Steel Thunder, and a classified Myanmar extraction that none of you have clearance to know about. This woman has more air-to-ground combat medals than most pilots see in their entire careers. She just coordinated the perfect strike solution for our current crisis while being treated like an unauthorized civilian by personnel who should be standing at attention." The revelation struck General Richardson like a physical blow as the complete reversal of authority became undeniably clear. Captain Martinez outranked him in both technical expertise and combat experience, making his earlier dismissal a serious breach of military protocol and professional courtesy. The Marine teams who had witnessed her public humiliation now stood at rigid attention, their faces showing a mixture of respect and embarrassment for their earlier mockery. Sarah's classified service record emerged through proper military channels as Commander Morrison provided authentication codes that verified her legendary status in tactical air support operations. The Distinguished Flying Cross, Silver Star, and multiple Purple Hearts represented just the visible portion of her decorated career that included missions so classified that most personnel lacked clearance to know they existed. General Richardson's face drained of color as he realized the magnitude of his professional misconduct toward a superior officer whose reputation in special operations circles was nothing short of legendary. The security guards who had escorted her toward the gate now maintained respectful distance, while radio chatter confirmed the successful precision strikes that were saving 8 Marine lives in real time. Captain Martinez, I owe you a formal apology for my unprofessional conduct and failure to recognize your credentials and authority, General Richardson said, his voice heavy with remorse. The radio crackled with triumphant voices as all 8 Marines confirmed successful extraction from the hostile zone, their lives saved by the precision airstrikes that Captain Martinez had coordinated with surgical accuracy. Trident 6 to base. We are clear of the target area with all personnel accounted for. The team leader reported with obvious relief and gratitude for the flawless tactical support. General Richardson faced immediate accountability for his treatment of a decorated officer whose expertise had just prevented a potential catastrophe that would have haunted his career forever. The formal apology delivered through proper military channels acknowledged his failure to recognize authentic credentials and his breach of professional courtesy toward a superior officer with legendary combat experience. The successful mission outcome directly resulted from Sarah's expert coordination of Black Hawk tactical strikes that no other available personnel could have executed with the required precision and timing. Her grace under pressure and professional response to personal humiliation demonstrated the character that had earned her the respect of Special Operations Forces worldwide. The base personnel who had witnessed her earlier treatment now understood they had been present during a masterclass in military professionalism delivered by one of the most decorated pilots in active service. Captain Martinez received official recognition through proper military channels for both her tactical excellence in coordinating the successful extraction and her professional grace under the pressure of unwarranted institutional prejudice. The formal ceremony acknowledging her contributions took place in the same courtyard where she had faced public humiliation hours earlier. General Richardson's institutional changes ensured such disrespect for technical competence and authentic military credentials would never occur again at Camp Pendleton. New protocols required proper verification of all personnel credentials before any dismissal actions. Mandatory respect for classified backgrounds and superior expertise regardless of appearance or civilian attire became standard operating procedure. The lasting impact extended throughout the base as Captain Martinez accepted appointment as permanent tactical air support coordinator for Marine operations, ensuring future missions would benefit from her unparalleled expertise in Black Hawk combat applications. Her professional handling of institutional prejudice became a teaching moment for all personnel about recognizing authentic competence and maintaining military courtesy under all circumstances. The Marine teams who had initially mocked her appearance now understood they had witnessed a legend in action, someone whose tactical brilliance and character under pressure exemplified the highest standards of military excellence. Years earlier, she had served as an embedded intelligence officer on a mission so classified that most records didn't exist. Her call sign was never spoken aloud in official channels. Her expertise was never decoration, but earned through operations where Captain Martinez's tactical coordination had saved dozens of Marines from certain death in hostile territory. The symbol she wore had been earned in silence by those who had come back, and Commander Morrison, standing before her, had been one of them. He held the salute, and for the first time since she arrived at Camp Pendleton, every mocking voice fell quiet under the weight of genuine respect for authentic service. The Marine teams who had witnessed her public humiliation now stood at rigid attention, their faces showing mixture of respect and embarrassment for their earlier mockery. What had started as casual dismissal of an apparent contractor had transformed into recognition of a decorated combat veteran whose expertise exceeded their own understanding of tactical operations. Young Marines who had whispered jokes about paperwork pushers now found themselves studying her every movement, trying to understand how they had so completely misjudged someone of her caliber. The contrast between their assumptions and reality served as a powerful lesson about the danger of superficial judgments in military environments. Commander Morrison stepped forward to address the assembled personnel, his voice carrying the weight of hard-earned experience. This woman coordinated air support that saved my entire unit during 3 separate operations. Her tactical knowledge and split-second decision-making under fire are the reason many of us are standing here today. The operations staff who had dismissed her presence began reviewing her coordination of a successful extraction, analyzing her precise communication protocols and tactical adjustments that had turned a potential disaster into a flawless mission outcome. Her ability to coordinate complex air support operations while maintaining perfect operational security impressed even seasoned veterans. Captain Martinez maintained her professional demeanor throughout the recognition, neither seeking additional praise nor deflecting the acknowledgement of her service. Her focus remained on the successful completion of the mission and the safe return of all Marine personnel, demonstrating the priorities that had earned her legendary status among Special Operations Forces. The security guards who had prepared to escort her from the premises now stood at respectful attention, understanding that they had been moments away from removing one of the most qualified tactical coordinators in the Marine Corps. Their embarrassment served as a reminder that appearances could be deceiving, especially in classified operations where cover identities were essential for mission success. Additional confirmation of her credentials came through encrypted communications as other high-ranking officials verified Captain Martinez's operational history and classified mission record. The Tactical Operations Center received priority messages from Marine Corps headquarters confirming her authorization for all classified briefings and tactical coordination activities. Colonel Patricia Hayes, the base intelligence officer, approached with obvious respect after reviewing Sarah's complete service record through secure channels. Captain Martinez, I've just received confirmation from Quantico regarding your clearance level and operational authority. Your reputation in intelligence circles is extraordinary, and I apologize for any confusion regarding your presence here today. The young Marines who had initially questioned her credentials now listened intently as senior officers discussed her involvement in operations that had shaped recent Marine Corps tactical doctrine. Her innovations in urban air support coordination had become standard training protocols, though her personal involvement had remained classified until this moment. Flight operations personnel gathered around tactical displays showing the precise coordination that had saved 8 Marines, studying her methodology with professional admiration. The surgical precision of her strike coordination demonstrated expertise that exceeded textbook knowledge, revealing experience gained through countless real-world operations under hostile conditions. Base communications intercepted additional messages from Pacific Command requesting Captain Martinez's immediate consultation on upcoming operations requiring her specialized expertise in coordinated air-ground tactics. Her reputation extended far beyond Camp Pendleton, reaching the highest levels of Marine Corps operational planning and strategic coordination. The contractor identification she had presented earlier was revealed as authentic cover documentation supporting her classified mission to assess base security protocols and personnel awareness procedures. Her apparent civilian status had been carefully constructed to allow unrestricted observation of daily operations without influencing normal behavior patterns among base personnel. General Richardson received direct communication from Marine Corps headquarters confirming Captain Martinez's authority to conduct unannounced assessments of operational readiness and security procedures. Her mission had multiple objectives, all of which required maintaining her cover identity until the tactical emergency had forced revelation of her true capabilities and credentials. The atmosphere at Camp Pendleton had fundamentally shifted as personnel processed the complete reversal of their understanding about Captain Martinez. Marines who had dismissed her presence now approached with genuine respect, seeking guidance on tactical procedures and air support coordination that she had perfected through years of classified operations. Young officers requested briefings on urban combat tactics, eager to learn from someone whose innovations had become standard Marine Corps doctrine without their knowledge of her involvement. The transformation from mockery to mentorship demonstrated the power of authentic expertise to reshape institutional attitudes and operational understanding. Base personnel who had witnessed the morning's events began sharing accounts of her professional composure under institutional prejudice, creating a narrative that would influence Camp Pendleton culture for years to come. Her grace under pressure became a teaching example of how true professionals respond to unfair treatment while maintaining mission focus. The Tactical Operations Center established new protocols requiring verification of all personnel credentials before making assumptions about roles or authority levels. Captain Martinez's successful coordination of the extraction mission while maintaining cover identity highlighted critical gaps in security awareness that demanded immediate correction. General Richardson implemented comprehensive training programs focusing on recognizing diverse forms of military expertise and maintaining professional courtesy regardless of apparent rank or civilian status. The incident became a case study in institutional bias and the importance of looking beyond surface appearances when assessing personnel capabilities. Force recon teams who had initially ignored her presence now sought her input on coordination protocols between ground units and air support elements. Her practical experience in managing complex tactical situations under pressure provided insights that enhanced their operational effectiveness and mission success rates. The contractor badge that had seemed insignificant hours earlier was revealed as sophisticated cover documentation supporting multiple ongoing security assessments throughout the Marine Corps. Her mission extended beyond Camp Pendleton, encompassing systematic evaluation of personnel awareness and institutional responsiveness across multiple installations and operational commands. 6 months later, Captain Martinez walked through the same base wearing her proper uniform with captain's bars gleaming and her classified unit patch properly displayed for those with appropriate clearance. The Tactical Operations Center had been converted to a security training facility where new officers learned about classification protocols and the catastrophic consequences of ignoring proper procedures. General Richardson now worked as a civilian contractor at a supply depot, his security clearance permanently revoked. Major Hayes had been discharged from the military entirely, while Lieutenant Colonel Barnes served as a cautionary tale in military justice courses about the importance of following established protocols regardless of personal assumptions about personnel or appearances. Captain Martinez paused outside the former operations center where a bronze plaque now commemorated the incident as a teaching moment for future officers. The inscription read simply, "Proper protocols protect both national security and individual service members." Honor demands both courage in combat and wisdom in judgment. Base personnel who passed Martinez in the corridors now rendered appropriate military courtesies, understanding that true military bearing wasn't about assumptions or appearance, but about competence, protocol, and respect for the systems that protected classified operations and the dedicated operators who served in them. The lesson had been learned through painful experience, but it would never be forgotten. Young Marines now understood that exceptional service often moved quietly and without fanfare, hidden beneath cover identities and operational security requirements that demanded careful assessment rather than superficial judgment. Commander Morrison established annual training exercises based on the incident, teaching new personnel about the importance of maintaining professional respect for all military personnel regardless of apparent role or civilian status. The exercises emphasized that assumptions could compromise both operational security and mission effectiveness. Captain Martinez accepted assignment as permanent tactical coordination instructor, ensuring that future Marine officers would understand the complexity of modern operations where cover identities and classified roles required constant vigilance and professional courtesy. Her legacy became the standard by which Camp Pendleton measured institutional respect and operational awareness.